Welcome back to What You Should and Should Not Be Eating. I'm your host, Empress Sankofa. In this episode, I'm going to reveal to you why canned food is typically not preferred and why it should be used as a last resort. Let's get into it. Canned foods tend to be much saltier than fresh or frozen foods. Why? Because sodium is used in the canning process. We don't actually need that much salt in our everyday diet. So eating canned foods can actually put you at the maximum daily amount of salt in one sitting. If you insist on eating canned foods, you want to make sure that you look at the back of that can and look at how much sodium is in it. Look at that percentage. How much of the daily recommended amount of salt is in that one can? If that number is really high, you want to make sure that you pour that water off that was in the can and replace it with fresh water. And make sure that you're not adding any additional salt. And the same goes for sugar. A lot of canned fruits are actually canned in syrup. You only need 2 ingredients for syrup, sugar and water. There's literally sugar in almost everything on the shelf, and canned fruits don't make it any better. Pour that sugar water off the fruit before you eat it and rinse it with fresh water. Or you can look for the light syrup variety of that fruit. Be careful though if it says sugar-free, because oftentimes sugar-free contains sugar-like artificial sweeteners. Next up is bisphenol A, also called BPA. Some canning companies still use BPA in the lining of their cans. And if you don't know what BPA is, make sure that you stay tuned for the rest of this series because we're going to go into more depth talking about these preservatives and all of these chemical additives. But in short, BPA is used in plastics and cans and can interfere with the reproductive hormones in the body as well as cause heart disease and diabetes. Canned foods are definitely beneficial in food shortages or when the money is a little bit tight. So if you insist on eating canned foods, make sure that you're reading that can label to make sure that it says BPA free. Next up is botulism. Botulism is caused by a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. In other words, like getting Botox when you didn't want it. It's found in canned goods that were not canned properly, whether commercially or at home. To minimize this risk, avoid canned foods with dents or damages to the actual can. And last but not least is preservatives. Preservatives are those long scientific names in foods that many people can't pronounce, and they help foods last for a long time on the shelf. But our bodies can't process them. Try to avoid foods with these ingredients. If you found this video helpful, leave me a comment.